Let's talk more about this. Malcolm Wilson is the CEO of XPO Logistics in Europe and the incoming CEO of GXO Logistics. XPO, as Abigail was just telling us, spinning the business out. It'll be completed the second half of this year. XPO Logistics business has operations in 30 countries. It's got about 140,000 employees. Let's just have a conversation here, Malcolm, about what is going on with your business, because right now all we see is companies complaining that they can't get what they need, that there are supply shortages, there are bottlenecks, freight rates are super high. Can you just give us a kind of snapshot of where the bottlenecks are, where the problems lie?
I think we've had really tremendous growth over the last few months. So all of the industrial economies are rebounding. And of course, the consumer economy, that's already rebounded into the end of 2020. Where we see bottlenecks, of course, there's always some kind of port congestion issues. We're seeing that right now in North America, but it's easing. And I mean, recently we saw the issue of the Suez Canal. The kind of customers that XPO is working with and the future logistics spin, GXO, they're typically the very large customers. So they're typically bringing sources from all over the world. So we haven't really seen any major impact on these, but it's definitely something for us to watch out for.
Malcolm, hi, it's Alex in New York. I'm wondering, on a base level, we're trying to understand like where the pandemic is reopening, where it's not. And India's clearly bad. There are now signs that it's spreading across Southeast Asia. Singapore is shutting down for a time. South America is still pretty bad. Europe appears to be reopening. You have a really good view on that. Can you give us a sense of where we are?
Absolutely. So when we look at the globe, and in particular we look at it from a company perspective, all of the markets where XPO is working, that's primarily Asia Pacific and North America and Europe, we're actually seeing good progress as a consequence of the recovery from COVID and the pandemic. Okay. If I think about North America and Europe, you know, the vaccination programs are really going at a good pace. And life is starting to come back to normal. In fact, in Europe, most of the countries will be back to full normality from the middle of June onwards. But you're absolutely right. You know, we can all see on the TV situation of India. It's a pretty difficult situation there. So we see those countries definitely in a difficult environment.
The freight rates stay super high. They're very high at the moment. Do they stay there?
We don't see any change on that in the foreseeable future.
Why not?
It's just a matter of demand. You know, all of the economies are bouncing back. When I consider the GXO business, you know, we're seeing huge demand for our services, huge pent-up demand, and also the outsourcing of business. So many companies now are outsourcing. The pandemic has served to demonstrate just the critical nature of logistics and supply chain generally. So a lot of large organizations are seeking to outsource their logistics, you know, to de-risk their business. We've also seen a boom.
Sorry, you're seeing a boom where?
Well, we've just seen a boom in e-commerce as well, you know, and this is driving a new behavior in all kinds of logistics, you know, the need for a lot of automation and robotics. So these are trends that we're seeing right now.
You employ a lot of people right now. In 10 years' time, how many people do you think you're going to be employing? The business is expanding, but you're talking about automating an awful lot of this stuff. At the moment, this is a sector that employs millions of people around the planet. Do you think that changes significantly as you invest in those robots?
No, we're seeing that we'll be employing more and more and more people in our organization. What you have to remember is that robotics, simply, they do take away some of the type of work, but it tends to be the type of work that a lot of us don't really want to be involved with. So it's a kind of typical environment in any of our jobs. There's always something that we would prefer that to do less of. That's typically what robotics do in warehouses, but it still generates a huge amount of employment for all of our team members.
You mentioned the shift to e-commerce with retailers, et cetera. And I'm wondering, there's a lot of conversation in the market about how we're going from a just-in-time inventory world to more of a stockpiling inventory world, whether you're dealing with supply chain issues from semis or the pandemic or inclement weather. Are you seeing that also?
We're seeing from our customers that they're being very thoughtful about where they're locating warehouses, and they want to put inventory closer to the consumer. In North America, our XPO Direct service really allows sellers to put inventory very close to the consumer, and that's super important when we consider e-commerce, where people want everything the next day or even the same day. So our XPO Direct service, and in fact all of our e-fulfillment service, are really going at a great pace.
Malcolm, there is a shortage of cars. They can't produce enough cars right now because there aren't enough chips to go in the cars. Is that going to happen when it comes to lorries, when it comes to articulated trucks? Are you going to have a shortage of trucks to move stuff around, do you think?
We're not seeing that right now, but we're watching that space very carefully. But all of the intelligence that we have says that that chip shortage is going to be caught up basically by the manufacturers. But if it was to sustain for a very long period of time, then it is going to affect that, and it's going to affect all manner of equipment that we would use in our business. But right now, that's not our understanding. We think it's a momentary situation that the manufacturers are quickly working hard to recover.
All right, Malcolm, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. We'd love to get your perspective once you transform here to GXO Logistics. Thank you very much, Malcolm Wilson, GXO Logistics incoming CEO.